In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the worst shoulder rehab exercises I was ever assigned and that I've seen assigned commonly for people who have shoulder impingement, rotator cuff tears, shoulder bursitis, etc., etc. So if you have shoulder pain or frozen shoulder or whatever, I'm going to explain why this exercise doesn't make sense, even though doctors and physical therapists seem to love it. And I'm going to give you some alternatives that I have personally found to be way more helpful and effective. Make sure you watch through to the end so you understand all the hows, the whys, the do's, and the don'ts. Let's get ready to think right, move right, and feel right. So this shoulder rehab exercise is called the pendulum, or a Codman's pendulum exercise, and you're basically trying to relax all the muscles on the back of the shoulder, relax everything so that you can get passive motion of the arm relative to the shoulder blade. And we talk about how you can use it to get a little more range of motion by just letting it hang and dangle so that hopefully it results in more range of motion up overhead. If you have frozen shoulder, this often gets recommended. You'll see it in rehab websites, you'll see it in protocols where they just want you to really gently try to swing this arm gradually around, being very careful not to hurt anything. But the problem is the rationale here doesn't make any sense. If you're somebody who has trouble getting shoulder flexion, which is what this motion is, then just trying to dangle loosely is actually not going to do anything to improve your overhead mobility, unless you're super lucky. Because ultimately, if you want to trick that arm to get into that more overhead position, you basically have to get yourself upside down like this, which I'm pretty sure your therapist and your doctor are not recommending. Also, if you can't get shoulder flexion, there are a lot of muscles that could be restricting you. There could be some muscles that are weak, and the pendulum exercise doesn't address any of that, and it most definitely doesn't address some of the postural issues that can lead to problems with your shoulder. What kind of postural issues, you might ask? Well, if you have kyphosis or really rounded upper back, your ability to move your shoulders is going to be severely limited. Just having kyphosis means you're going to run into some obstacles in the shoulder joint as you go up. The muscles will not be able to function properly. You might get pinching and jamming sensations. Likewise, when you try to lift your arm out to the side, you're going to prematurely run into the end of your range of motion. Whereas if you can fix that, if you can get more extension in your upper back, you're going to find that your range of motion improves drastically and is pain-free because all of the muscles are now in the right relationship to one another. The shoulder blade also sits in the correct position rather than being stuck in this tilted and also abducted, protracted position, right? If your shoulder blades are pulling away from your spine like this, your range of motion for your arms out to the side is going to be limited. So you have to address not just the shoulder joint, but also the upper back and mid back. If you don't, you're very likely to get stuck in limited range of motion, and no amount of dangling and hanging is going to fix the problem. And while you get super frustrated, your doctor, surgeon, and physical therapist will keep collecting payments from your insurance company. So instead of wasting your time dangling your arm in space and letting muscles in the back of your shoulder just atrophy for some reason, you're going to stand right up against the wall with your feet away from the wall. Then you're going to press your low back into the wall so you can feel your whole lower back and mid back in the wall. Then you're going to keep your chin tucked and you're going to pull the back of your head towards the wall. Now you're probably going to find some difficulty in getting your head to touch the wall without looking up. So don't force this. Keep the chin tucked. You want the back of your head to try to get to the wall. Pause wherever you feel like you can get. Don't try to rush it and end up looking up like this. So we're trying to feel the muscles in the thoracic spine. That's the mid and upper back. You want that curl to be straightening up like this. So keep your eyes down towards the floor. You're looking somewhere down like that, pulling your head back. It may take you some time. It may take a couple weeks to develop the control of your spinal muscles to be able to do that. But this is what you're working towards so that you can get the upper back to straighten out. Then, instead of doing the pendulum, which is, as we mentioned, a kind of big waste of time, we're going to do the opposite. Instead of letting those muscles get weaker, we're going to actually put our arms up. If you can't get this high, you can keep them lower, that's fine. And we're going to be pressing into the wall, trying to use the muscles of the back of the shoulders and also between the shoulder blades. So we're here, and you're just gonna press into the wall, pulling the shoulder blades together. Your upper arm, your elbows basically are gonna be pressing into the wall, and then you relax. Whatever height you can do, you can play around with the angles. Just keep trying to get those muscles to fire. You're not trying to break the wall, you're just trying to feel those muscles working. That is going to help you build strength in the posterior shoulder, which actually helps your shoulders articulate better. It actually feels better when the muscles back here are stronger because they actually hold the humerus, that arm bone, in place. They help hold the shoulder together so it feels right. Most of the time in modern life, we're kind of sitting at computers and phones like this, and the posterior shoulder muscles actually just die and atrophy. Atrophy aches and causes poor articulation. Now I'm going to show you how to strengthen the back of your shoulders even more, but before I do, I just want to ask you to comment down below if this video is helping you, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much. It helps a lot when you do those things. Let's go into the exercise. So you're going to stand near a couch, a bench, a chair, a concrete planter. You're going to have your arm out to the side with your pinky pointing out to the side, and then you're going to be lifting the elbow out and up towards the sky. So I'm keeping this angle of about 90 degrees between my body and my arm, and I'm just lifting it up and out to the side. When you first start, just get a feel for the motion, and just keep pulling that arm back. You want to feel that your posterior shoulder, like the rear delts back here, as well as the muscles that connect your shoulder blade to your spine, are working. So you're getting retraction of this shoulder blade, right? So it's pulling back. You should feel like the shoulder blade is going in this way, okay? So we're pulling like this and then back down. Then, as soon as you feel like you understand the motion, you grab a light weight. Start off with something light. It could be 1 pound, it could be a water bottle. And then you're just going to be pulling up and out to the side. Hold that top position and slowly back down. Make sure you're not using your upper traps or your levator scap to do this. So if as you're pulling you feel like you're doing this, then you probably need to not use the weight and just practice the motion, right? Just practice pulling that back without using that upper trap. So you're just going here, nice and slow and controlled. And then once you feel you can do it, make sure you use something light, super light, and just get used to firing the right muscles. You're going to do sets of 8 to 20 if you can. When you're doing this with no weight, you really should be able to do a set of 8 to 20. But if you feel really, really weak, then that's a huge sign to you that your posterior shoulder muscles are way too atrophied, and that's going to mean your shoulders hurt. And if you continue to do things like the pendulum, it's going to get worse because you're continuously telling the muscles in the back of the shoulder to get weaker. So don't just rely on passive motions. You really want to make sure you have strength in those muscles, because without strength, you cannot move the bones. And even if only one shoulder hurts, I strongly encourage you to do both sides, because that's going to make sure you prevent problems on the other side. So nice and slow and controlled. Again, start with no weight and then start adding weight, and sets of around 8 to 20. I'm saying 8 to 20, but there's no magic numbers. It's just a good solid range to help you build more strength in a safe way. You don't want to be using a weight that's so heavy that you're only able to get 3 repetitions, because that's too intense. You're probably going to hurt yourself or be super, super sore. So stay in that 8 to 20 range. The higher you go, the more endurance you're building, the more stamina you're building in those muscles. And then when you hit 20 and it feels comfortable and easy, then you can bump up the weight by 1 to 2 pounds every couple weeks. Now, what if you don't have a dumbbell, or you don't have weights, or you just feel a little sketched out about this? Well, hey, I want to give a huge shout out to Long for donating $100 via PayPal to support this channel. Thank you for making videos like this possible. If you'd like to support this channel too, you can do so like Long did by using PayPal at paypal.me/uprighthealth, or using any of the links you'll find in the description box, or by joining on YouTube or on Patreon. I also encourage you to get on my newsletter at uprighthealth.com/newsletter, so you and I stay connected, just in case the censors or the algorithm decide they don't like me anymore, which Who knows, maybe I won't like me anymore pretty soon. In any case, I thank you for your support, and let's get back to the video. Now, what if you don't have a dumbbell, or you don't have weights, or you just feel a little sketched out about this? Well, you can also do another exercise, which is the same setup, but then you just bring your arm out to the side, and then you're gonna do some circles like this. You can circle in both directions, just get fatigue in the back of the shoulder so that the rear delts are really working, those posterior rotator cuff muscles are working to just help stabilize your arm. Do this for like 30 seconds in one direction, then 30 seconds in the other direction. If you have better balance and you want more of a challenge for your spine, you can just do this freestanding, just like so. Doing both arms at the same time. It's a little more time efficient. You can also play around with the hand position, but generally if you want more rear delt, you gotta have the thumbs down, but it's no harm, no foul. If you wanna do it this way, this will just give you some more options. You wanna make sure you have volition at every position, so it's totally cool to play around and build strength in these different angles. With past clients who had frozen shoulder or shoulder impingement or whatever other shoulder diagnosis, this approach has been really helpful. I've seen people make huge gains by first addressing the thoracic spine and then getting the posterior shoulder to build up. This makes sense because modern life generally puts us into this kyphotic position and weakens the posterior shoulder from disuse. So by correcting that position and by starting to wake up those muscles, you undo the normal patterns and habits that you're getting stuck in that puts you in pain in the first place. Because you're so atrophied and probably not used to any of the things that I just showed you, it's very important to titrate and give yourself a little bit of time to acclimate to these exercises. So when you first start, you may want to do this on Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Saturday, and just kind of feel things out. See how your body responds. You might get super duper sore, so we don't want to cripple you with soreness by doing this every single day. When you're doing the first exercise against the wall, start off with a minute and build up to 3 minutes. For the shoulder exercises, you can do 2 rounds on each side, just getting that fatigue. Make sure you take enough rest so that you aren't getting so tired and so stressed that your upper traps are working the whole time. Keep the shoulders away from the ears and focus on feeling the posterior shoulder muscles working, whether that's with the dumbbell or just free floating in space. If you have one side that's obviously weaker than the other side, do an extra set for that weaker side. These exercises are much better than typical shoulder rehab exercises because they actually build strength and control rather than the regular run-of-the-mill shoulder rehab exercise, which just kind of wastes your time with attempts to break through range of motion problems without actually improving the muscle function. If you're just trying to passively, creepily hang your arm or do little wall crawls to kind of expand range of motion, you're just going to be really, really frustrated, but your doctor, your surgeon, and your physical therapist are going to keep collecting their fees from your insurance company. If you do have frozen shoulder, I don't want you to get frustrated and just give up. So here are 2 quick stories from people who fixed their frozen shoulders. This one was from Katie. I had an extremely sore shoulder, so even daily tasks or little knocks were very painful. It turned into frozen shoulder, and then there was much less pain, but also less motion. My local physio wasn't very much help, gave me a few general exercises, and referred me to a specialist. I was frustrated, then came across the Shoulder Fix program. I really feel like my shoulder started to improve from the first day that I did the side-lying windmill exercise. Why didn't my local physio give me that exercise? My shoulder still doesn't have full range of motion, but it has plenty of motion for what I need to do, and no pain. Then this story from Carol. A few years ago, I used your program for frozen shoulder to resolve it. 5 stars, my range of motion in my left shoulder is completely back, and I have recommended you profusely to others. The big takeaway here is you can get your shoulder to function again, even if the experts that you've seen didn't know what they were doing and were giving you a bunch of useless exercises. In fact, I will go so far as to say that even if you find my free content or my paid content doesn't help your frozen shoulder, you can still find somebody out there who will be able to help you, because ultimately the problem is with the muscles that control the bones, and if you can take the time to figure that out, you will get your shoulder range of motion back. If you want a more comprehensive approach to fixing your shoulder, no matter what some doctor has labeled it, I encourage you to go to uprighthealth.com/DIY to look at the Shoulder Fix. It's a program that I designed based on years of having shoulder problems myself and based on years of working with clients with things like frozen shoulder, shoulder impingement, and shoulder bursitis and rotator cuff tears. The ultimate goal with the program is to build your strength, flexibility, and control so that you can do all the motions that you love without shoulder pain and without the frustration of wasted time, ice, rest, and pills. I also have a bunch of free videos on YouTube to help you with your shoulder impingement and other shoulder issues. Check them out here. To support this channel, use the links in the description box or the join button on YouTube, or just send me some money via PayPal. I really appreciate it. Like, share, and subscribe with the bell notification on. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks. Life shouldn't.